Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Hey everyone, welcome into a new week of The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I am your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on our YouTube page. While you are here, hit that like button. If you are not a subscriber, hit the subscriber button. Also, if you are a subscriber, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we drop content on our YouTube page. I am here each week to break down the latest in Crimson Tide football recruiting, so be sure to be a subscriber. Be sure to like the video as well. Today, I want to take a look at the Crimson Tide's top quarterback targets in the 2023 recruiting class. Of course, the Crimson Tide signed five-star quarterback Ty Simpson in the 2022 recruiting cycle. They want to add another signal caller during this 2023 cycle, and they are looking at a couple of guys, including a guy I know you guys have heard a lot about, and he is Arch Manning, the five-star quarterback out of Newman High School in Louisiana. We will talk about Manning and a couple of other guys who the Crimson Tide are targeting at the quarterback position in the 2023 recruiting class on today's episode of The Process. But before I dive into those guys, I do have some quick recruiting updates. But before I even get to those updates, I do want to remind you that we do have a phone number that you guys can hit us on and leave a voicemail, so your recruiting question can be asked on The Process possibly in the future. That number will be located at the bottom of the screen throughout this video, and that number is 205-984-3222. Again, that number is 205-984-3222. The number will be located at the bottom of the screen throughout the duration of today's episode of The Process. But like I said at the beginning, I do have a couple of recruiting updates to get into, and the first update is going to be about a 2024 offensive lineman out of Centennial High School in Roseville, Georgia. He is a four-star offensive lineman in the 2022 recruiting class, and he is Daniel Calhoun, who currently stands at 6'6", weighs 330 pounds. He holds 30 offers now after Mississippi State offered him, I think, on last week. The Crimson Tide actually offered him in October. They got him on campus for an unofficial visit on January 29th. He said he was really impressed with Alabama's weight and training facility. It seems as if the Crimson Tide are standing out early to the 6'6", 330-pound offensive tackle in the 2024 recruiting class. You guys can check out my full interview with Calhoun over at touchdownalabama.com. Let's take a look at what he brings to the table at the moment. Of course, his game is going to continue to progress. He's going to continue to get better, but just taking a look at some of the things he was able to do as a sophomore, you see that he's a very agile offensive lineman. His mobility looks really good for a 6'6", 330-pounder. He's projected to be one of the top tackles in the 2024 recruiting class, so he's going to be a prospect to know in the future. And I want to talk about a couple of other 2023 guys in this recruiting update. Like I said, Daniel Calhoun will be the only 2024 guy I talk about in this set of updates. In the 2023 guy we are going to turn our attention to first is five-star linebacker Anthony Hill out of Ryan High School in Denton, Texas. Recently released his top 6 and included the Crimson Tide along with Texas A&M, Oklahoma, USC, and also Miami. Taking a look at Hill, currently stands at 6'2", weighs 225 pounds, one of the top linebacker prospects, inside linebacker prospects in the 2023 recruiting class. The Crimson Tide seem to be really interested in Hill. They have been recruiting him heavily and a lot over the last couple of months, possibly close to a year now. Nick Saban visited his high school in Denton, Texas during the month of January as he got an opportunity to visit a lot of different schools across the country, and Ryan High School is definitely one of those stops. So Anthony Hill has released his top 6. We're going to see a lot of 2023 guys drop top 6s and top 5s. When you take a look at them dropping those top schools lists, you know they're most likely trying to set up their official visits in the future, and that's why they are trying to cut down their list. So Anthony Hill is one of those guys who has released a top 6. A couple of other guys want to release other top schools list trying to set up their official visits as well. Clay Wedden is one of those guys. He's a four-star offensive lineman out of Calhoun High School in Tampa, Florida. The Crimson Tide also had him on campus on January 29th. He has held an Alabama offer for several months now. Took his first visit to the University of Alabama during the month of January as the Crimson Tide got on campus at the end of the month for their junior day. He said he was blown away by a lot of different things at the Alabama Crimson Tide's facilities in their off the field player development was able to show him during that particular visit. Currently stands at 6'6", weighs 290 pounds. He plays some tackle and guard. He has experience at both positions. He could be a guy who could grow into a versatile offensive lineman at the next level. When you take a look at his recruitment, similar to Anthony Hill, he wants to announce a top school list in the near future. He does not know what exactly that number will be, but he does want to take his official visits during the summer months, June, July, and make a decision, make a commitment before his senior season begins. The Crimson Tide look to be in a good position with him at the moment. The Crimson Tide's new offensive line coach, Eric Wolford, has made a great impact on Clay Wedden very early on in this hiring process. He's hit the ground running for the Crimson Tide on the recruiting for a lot of offensive linemen in the 2023 recruiting class. I've heard from the new Alabama offensive line coach, including Olas Aden. We'll talk about him a little later, but before I get to Aden, I do want to discuss another 2023 prospect out of the state of Florida, and we are going to talk about Keon Keeley, who's currently committed to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The 6'6", 230-pounder is projected to be an edge rusher at the next level. He's a very physical edge rusher at the high school football level. He's easily one of the more physical edge rushing prospects in the 2023 recruiting class. He has the length at 6'6", like I said. He is currently verbally committed to Notre Dame, but he did take a visit to the University of Alabama for one of the Crimson Tide's junior day event in the month of January. He said he was blown away also by the Crimson Tide's off the field player development, how they have their player development individualized not only on the field but off the field as well. He said he feels that the Crimson Tide football program has everything that a player needs to succeed on and off the football field. Of course, he remains verbally committed to the Fighting Irish, but I think the Crimson Tide have put themselves in a good position of giving Keon Keeley something to think about. I think if he was to back off his commitment from Notre Dame for whatever reason in the future, I feel that the Crimson Tide will be one of the schools that's going to be at the top of his recruitment. Could quite possibly be the favorite if he was to decommit in the coming weeks or possibly the coming months. So Keon Keeley, very impressed with the Crimson Tide's off the field player development as well. You guys can check out my full interview with Keon Keeley over at touchdowналabama.com. It is a subscriber only article. Perfect time to pick up your subscription to touchdowналabama.com while you are at it. But like I said, I do want to talk about Olas Aden as well, a four-star offensive lineman who's originally from Finland, but he transferred to Loomis Chaffee High School during his junior season to play in Windsor, Connecticut for Loomis. And when we take a look at Olas Aden's recruitment, a lot of different schools are going after the 6'7" offensive lineman who's projected to be a tackle at the next level. Has more than 40 offers at the moment, including an offer from the Crimson Tide. Of course, the Tide got him on campus a couple of months ago, and he told me that the Crimson Tide were at the top of his recruitment after that visit. They remain in a good position with him. He has been in constant contact with the Crimson Tide's offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. Like Wedden, he has also been in contact with the Crimson Tide's new offensive line coach along with Nick Saban. He said he has a great relationship with multiple members of Alabama's coaching staff. Said he's looking to start taking his official visits during the month of June, and he told me that he's 100% sure that the Crimson Tide will get an official visit from him. You guys can check out my article with him over at touchdowналabama.com as well. I think this will be a huge visit if it comes to fruition, with Olas Aden saying that he is 100% sure that the Crimson Tide will get an official visit from him. I think an official visit could seal the deal for the Crimson Tide for the 6'7" offensive lineman who told me he felt that it was a dream come true when the Crimson Tide finally offered him. So Aden is definitely a prospect to know at the offensive lineman position, projected to be an offensive tackle at the next level. He's an offensive lineman to know in the 2023 recruiting class moving forward. But like I said at the top of the show, show. The main focus of today's episode of the process will be focused on the Crimson Tide's 2023 quarterback targets. And the first guy we are going to talk about is no surprise to anyone. I feel that everyone has their eyes on this guy. Everyone is talking about him. And of course, I am talking about five-star quarterback Arch Manning out of Newman High School in Louisiana. Currently stands at 6'4", weighs 215 pounds. Just talking a little bit about what he brings to the table. He can make almost every throw. Strong arm, nice deep ball, nice touch on his deep ball, nice size at 6'4" and 215 pounds. I think he has some decent mobility. Not the fastest kid, of course, but I think he can move around the pocket a little bit better than many people may expect. I think he has grown in terms of his pocket presence during his junior season at Newman High School. If you guys can go back to the sophomore season, which is some of the film that you are seeing right now, you see that he's a bit more antsy in the pocket. You see him rolling out a little bit quickly, making some great passes while on the run, showing off some decent mobility. But during his junior season, he was able to show better pocket presence at Newman High School. But taking a look at his recruitment, seems as if it's down to Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Ole Miss, of course, and also Texas. I think these are the schools that many people expect him to be choosing from. First off, taking a look at what Alabama brings to the table. Of course, we know the tradition that Nick Saban has built in Tuscaloosa and a dynasty that he has built. And specifically over the last couple of years, we have seen the quarterbacks that the Crimson Tide have been able to produce, guys who are starting in the NFL right now. So the Crimson Tide's reputation speaks for itself. They are showing a lot of interest in Arch Manning. You see that Nick Saban, Bill O'Brien, the Crimson Tide's offensive coordinator, of course, and also Pete Golding, the Crimson Tide's defensive coordinator, going out to his basketball game. I haven't seen any recruit get that type of attention from the Crimson Tide, where you see the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and Nick Saban actually go to their basketball game. They're showing interest in Arch Manning. So the Crimson Tide are going all in on Manning, trying to get him to Tuscaloosa, but they are not the only program. Of course, you have Georgia. Taking a look at what they bring to the table, they are coming off of a national championship season where they won the national championship with a walk-on quarterback. Hey, the pitch is pretty simple to Arch Manning, in my opinion. We won the national championship with a guy who was a walk-on. Imagine what we can do with a five-star. Taking a look at Texas, you have the young head coach in Steve Sarkisian, who's an offensive mastermind. You also have Texas. You know, everything is bigger in Texas, including the NIL deal. So Arch Manning definitely has a lot to think about when he's considering Texas. Taking a look at Ole Miss, just his family tradition. His uncle Eli Manning went to Ole Miss, of course. His dad went to Ole Miss, and also just taking a look at his granddad, Archie Manning, who's a legend at Ole Miss. So there's a lot to consider when you take a look at Arch Manning's recruitment. The Crimson Tide are going to continue to recruit him, but he's not the only signal caller but that the Crimson Tide are going after in this 2023 recruiting class. They also have their eyes on a 6'6" quarterback out of California, and Nico Iamaleava. I hope I didn't butcher that. I hope I didn't butcher that really bad, but we're going to call him Nico from now on. But the 6'6" signal caller has a very strong arm. It looks as if he's just flicking the football out of his hands. A very quick release, a solid quarterback at 6'6" and weighing approximately 200 pounds. Taking a look at that frame, of course, he would need to add on some more weight, continue to get stronger. He's an athletic quarterback who can move around the pocket as well. Good pocket presence. And when you take a look at his film, he made some impressive throws through some tight windows. So he has it all at the quarterback position. Like Arch Manning, he is a five-star recruit in the 2023 recruiting class. Currently has a top 12, and a lot of schools across the country are going after this guy. You have Oregon trying to keep him on the West Coast. You have programs like Tennessee trying to bring him to the SEC. And of course, you have Alabama and Nick Saban trying to bring him to Tuscaloosa. So I think he's definitely a guy to keep your eyes on. I know a lot of people will talk about Arch Manning, but Nico is definitely a top quarterback target for the Crimson Tide in this 2023 recruiting class as well. I'm also going to discuss Dylan Lonergan out of Texas, who currently stands at 6'2", weighs 215 pounds. When you compare him to Nico and Arch Manning, he could be called a better runner in terms of fighting for extra yards. I feel like he finishes runs more so like a running back with that 6'2", 215-pound thick frame. He can make some impressive throws as well. Nice deep ball. I think he's an athletic dual threat quarterback with them being 6', 215 pounds. He currently has a top 12. Still keeping his recruitment pretty open at the moment with programs like Alabama, Georgia Tech, Oregon, Georgia, of course. Programs from all over the country going after Dylan Lonergan at the moment. And just taking a look at his recruitment, you have programs that are not even listed in his top 12 hosting him and offering him, like programs like Stanford who have come on as of late. So his recruitment is still fluid at the moment. I think his recruitment is more so in the early stages, similar to Nico and not Arch Manning. I think Arch Manning is further along in his recruitment than these other two guys. But those are the top quarterback targets who I wanted to discuss. And those are the guys who the Crimson Tide have offered in the 2023 recruiting class who have not committed to other schools. We can take a look at Arch Manning, Nico, and Dylan Lonergan. Another guy I just want to throw out there, I'm going to keep bringing him up, and he's going to be a 2023 four-star quarterback, actually out of the state of Alabama, by the way, of Briarwood Christian High School in Birmingham. I think he's a prospect to just continue to keep at the back of your mind. He has a very impressive offer list with programs like Florida, Clemson, Notre Dame going after him in his 2023 recruiting class. I was very impressed with him, and I got an opportunity to see him play earlier during the 2021 football season against Huffman High School. I feel he can make every throw. A good mobile quarterback out of Birmingham. The Crimson Tide hosted him a couple of times during the spring. They hosted him last summer at camp. He got an opportunity to work out with a lot of guys who they are targeting right now at the quarterback position, including the Crimson Tide's early enrollee and freshman quarterback Ty Simpson. So Christopher Vezina is a name I would just keep in the back of my mind in terms of a guy who could get an offer from the Crimson Tide. If he does not get an offer from Alabama, he's still going to go to a pretty good school with this impressive offer list. I just want to keep throwing his name out there as a name to just keep your eyes on if you are an Alabama fan. But that is what I wanted to talk about on today's episode of The Process. Take a look at the Crimson Tide's top quarterback targets in the 2023 recruiting class. Of course, Alabama would love to have Arch Manning. They are recruiting him very hard, but he's not the only signal caller they are going after in this 2023 recruiting cycle. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Before you leave, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you are a subscriber, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we drop content on our YouTube page. Then head over to touchdownalabama.com, pick up your subscription. With that subscription, you get to read all of our subscriber-only articles, get your hands on our yearly Prince and magazine issue, also get an opportunity to read our in-depth scouting reports on each Tide commit and each recruiting class. As always, I am Justin Smith, and before I leave you guys, be sure to download the Touchdown Alabama app. Of course, you can find it in the Apple App Store under Touchdown Alabama. You can also find it in the Google Play Store if you have an Android device, so you can download the Touchdown Alabama app. I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama.
Process.